This is an oil filter housing. Those two bolts are not for fitting an external oil cooler or oil filter housing, oil filter relocation, whatever. That's for the machining process. Okay, guys, if you fit something to that, you'll bypass your oil filter. Now for the long version. Get it, guys. It's Calvin and it's Jason from the Karching Company in New Zealand. I love the internet. The internet is amazing and it's full of information, and some of it's good and some of it's bad. And I'm really trying my hardest to be on the correct side of it and get things as correct as I can. And I'm trying to use my correct language as much as I can, because even though a lot of us speak English, not all of us speak the same language and use the same words. There was a question asked on the internet. I thought it was a pretty good question, actually. I'm finding it. Just wait there. Well, I was going to tape this on my phone, but if I taped this on my phone, I wouldn't be able to
Find the question in here?
Yeah, correct. I wouldn't be able to read it. I wouldn't be able to read it to you if I was working on my phone. So that just wasn't going to work, was it?
No.
So the question is, and it's relating to this fella here, which is a 3UZ oil filter housing, and we're not going to go through all the other options, which would have been really cool, but it's not happening today. And they asked about that bolt hole there. So the diagram for the oil filter housing on the Lexus part site does not show this threaded hole. Does anyone recognise it? Also, what do the two Allen head caps do? Thanks. What's bolted to that on your one?
I don't remember. Probably
Something else.
bracket.
A bracket of some sort. It's actually used for different stuff on different models, because this housing came off, that's an inconvenient time, off your Crown, wasn't it? But it's the same one that runs on my LS430.
It'll be to hold something.
Yep, it holds something. It's a bracket. And some people suggested it was the port for the oil pressure switch, which is shown in the photo. So this is where the oil pressure switch goes, okay? Now, now what I said, moving it around, was that these two, if they used, because someone said you could use them for an oil cooler, these ones, when they have an oil cooler, they actually have a unit bolts on there, which has the water running to it. And these two are in there because of the machining process and how you machine them. I really need to turn my phone off, today. I'll fix it. So I said, if you put something on them, like an oil cooler, you're going to end up bypassing the oil filter, because each of these ports are in the oil filter circuit. So let's have a good look at it. It's an oil filter housing, and we're actually going to do a detailed look at it. So when it bolts on the engine, that goes that way. Yep, goes that way. So this, the front one, or the front port on the engine, comes from the oil pump. So here's our oil pump, and there is our port coming from the oil pump. It's at the front of the engine, and there's the one returning, running down here back to the main gallery on the engine. So to make this housing, they cast it up, they machine this surface, that's where the gasket sits for your oil filter. This is the return back to the engine. So a lot of guys don't even know how oil filters work, but they actually flow from the outside. So this is to the oil filter, and that's to the engine. So to machine it, these holes are cast. That's a cast hole. This is a cast hole which is then had a thread machined. And then they get in and they bore a hole. Zoop down there and zoop down there. Wait, I was talking about using the right words and giving the right information, and I just stuffed up. They're actually cast holes, they're not machined holes. And the ones after this that I'm talking about, also cast holes. Sorry. And then you've got this, and this there, this there. That's good English, eh? I was talking about doing good English. So what they will do is they machine, cast, not machined, cast. Down there and down there. They being the manufacturers. You've got this one coming up. So this port, which is from the front of the housing, feeds up here, goes externally and goes to the oil filter. This one, and this one goes from the center bolt, comes out, has the oil pressure switch. Lexus run a switch and runs back to feed into the engine. Again, machined in. So if you put an oil cooler on here, the oil doesn't have to go through the oil filter anymore.
Some of it will.
Well, some of it might. Depends where the least restriction is. But I call that bypassing. Isn't that what we call bypassing?
Yes, it would bypass. But some
Are there different definitions of bypass?
it would bypass, yes. You bypass the.
Yeah, it can bypass the filter. Doesn't have to go through. Some of it may. The filter itself, we've got to go one-way valves, and you've got to go through paper element, which may be more restriction than an oil cooler. But it's bypassing, because that's how this unit's made. I need something to shove down the hole to prove my point here, eh? So if I shove this down here, it goes the other way. It's right there. There it is, look. Same. Oh, look, it comes out that hole. And then it comes out that hole. And this one, we'll see if it gets it to go the right way. Look at that.
You put in your oil, you think oil my nice wiring one, just rewiring.
Oh, I am putting this. It's off your car. Yeah, there's some oil on it. It's oil resistant, that stuff. So it's all good.
I'm trying.
You'll have to wipe it. You are trying to do wiring. But thank you very much for donating the housing.
Oh, that's fine.
That was very handy. And those
That was educational for you.
those were not for an oil cooler, were they? And if you were putting a pressure sensor in one, you'd want to put it in the correct side, because sometimes we see people put it on that side and then you get a blocked filter and it doesn't register.
Yeah, that happened to someone I know in their race car. They wired the filter block back to front. It had heaps of oil pressure. It made good oil pressure. Half of that went around and hit them down. The motor was not happy.
Yes. I've also seen it where people have had it for years, run one brand of filter, take it to workshop, they spin the correct filter on it with a one-way valve, and the one-way valve doesn't work backwards, and it's game over for the engine, and the system's been like that for 10 years, flying backwards, with a very low-quality filter with no bleed-back valve. Neat, eh? Oh, sorry, I've got to go now. Jason's ushering me away.
No, I'll just take your oily, greasy fucking. It's not
But
mine.
you're getting, don't put that in there, you might get oil on your hands.
I can wash my hands. The wiring loom was a little bit.
You'll just give that a wipe. Very good. So guys, I hope that was helpful. Gravity's working. Don't put an oil cooler on those because you've got lines going elsewhere. Okay, cool.